I've been on YouTube for quite a long time. It's been 8 years. And if there's one question that I get asked a lot, it's how do I stay motivated? Because YouTube is, I've said this in so many videos and posts, that YouTube is so hard. There are times where it feels easy, but the majority of the time it's a lot of work and it's very hard. And if I go back to the beginning and why I started my channel in the first place, it might actually help you if you're at the point where you've either been going for a long time or you've started and you just feel like you want to quit, or you feel like nothing's going anywhere. So the reason that I started my channel was because I just saw it as a fun thing to do. I just wanted to create videos. It was a hobby for me. So I didn't even have the intention of this becoming a job or making money from it, which is what I do now. I became a full-time YouTuber. Is it 3 years ago or 2 years ago? I think it was 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years in July. And up until that point, when I started, it was just a hobby. And so when I got to the point where I knew that I could make money from it and I knew that I could survive on just my YouTube income, because it surpassed my 9-to-5 job salary, which was quite a decent salary, I had something which was a clear motivator for me. And in the beginning, like I said, this was a hobby, so the motivation came from doing something that I was passionate about, and I always wanted to get better, I wanted to develop, and I wanted to grow. And so the first thing that I would say to you is that if you started your channel with the intention of it being something that you actually enjoy, whatever you're creating videos about you actually enjoy, then that motivation starts to come from that and just wanting to make those videos, because whatever you're doing in those videos is something that you actually enjoy in the first place. If you're finding it a struggle and you're finding the motivation from that perspective, then you might not actually be doing something that you truly like and that you truly enjoy. And that's something that you have to reflect on within yourself. And so once I became full-time on YouTube, the motivation then came from a completely different place. And towards the end of my job, my 9-to-5, when I got to the point where I was thinking I need to hand in my notice because I can't do this anymore, I had gotten to the point in that job where I just really disliked it. I hated it. I hated waking up, going to that job, not going to it because I worked remotely, but waking up and doing that job and doing that role, which had changed as well. So that was another thing that I really disliked about my job. But I hated that feeling of waking up and just not feeling happy. And when I went full-time on YouTube, that feeling was replaced with this sense of freedom, because I have so much freedom and flexibility in my day to do whatever I want. Of course, I'm making my videos, but I don't have to answer to anyone. I don't have to say, can I take these days off to do this or that or the other? And so my sense of motivation comes from the fact that I never want to feel the way that I felt during the end period of my 9-to-5 before I handed in my notice, because I just wasn't happy. And you know, happiness isn't this constant state, it dips in and out, but I was truly unhappy, and it reflected in my life as well. And I don't want to be that person that just couldn't find the joy in things because I'd have this weight on my shoulders of this job that I really didn't like. And so yeah, that is my biggest motivation, not wanting to go back to that feeling. And I don't mind working for people. I much prefer working for myself. I've always been like that. I've always had some kind of freelance work, or I owned my own business at one point to do with something else as well. And there have been times where I've actually enjoyed working for companies, but on the whole, I love working for myself. And so if you do know that you want YouTube to become a full-time career for you and a full-time path for you, and you're thinking, or you have those days where you feel so unmotivated to create the videos that you need to create to get yourself to a point where you can become full-time on YouTube, you kind of just have to think to yourself, would you rather stay in the job that you're doing now, or push through this feeling that you feel every time you get demotivated with YouTube, so that you can actually get out the other end and feel this immense sense of freedom and flexibility for your life. And for me, that was the biggest motivator when I hadn't gotten to the point where I could quit my job, but then also the biggest motivator to keep going now when I have those days where I'm just feel like I'm in a bit of a slump, or I feel like I need to take a break. And so, yeah, in a long-winded way, that is my motivator. There's a saying as well, and I can't remember who said it or the exact words, but the notion of it is, if you have two things that are hard, or one thing where you really dislike it, but in order to get out of that, the other thing that you're striving for is difficult, which one would you prefer? Would you prefer to take that difficult route of getting to the point where you feel that absolute freedom, or keep struggling with the thing that you're struggling with? And it's about choosing your hard. And so for me, even though YouTube is incredibly difficult and it is challenging and sometimes I burn out, this is the hard that I would choose, rather than going back to a 9-to-5 that I really just feel so unhappy with and dislike. So I would rather have this hard than that. And you just have to figure out which hard you prefer.